The creators of Treasure Cruise have got to be having the time of their life right now, man. Egghead Island. The Egghead arc. Futurama piece is going to be filling their wallets. I mean, bro. Dude, the amount of different units that you could have based on this arc alone so far. Oh, man, dude. I mean, a Law versus Blackbeard unit, a Luffy versus Lucci unit. You could have a Garp just pulling up unit, a Vivi with Wapol unit. You could have all of like the Robins and the Namis and the Stussies and the Bonnies, which will sell gangbusters, absolutely. The Seraphim units, there's so many different opportunities for individuals to take money out of their wallet and place it on Treasure Cruise's desk. I mean, they're going to be eating good. But this week's chapter provided another excellent potential unit for the future of Treasure Cruise, man. It's going to be insane. Dude, do you know what it is to have a tag team, like a dream tag team of Lucci, Kaku, Zoro, Luffy, and Shaka? Dude, that's going to be just a blast, man. Because, you know, Luffy and Zoro see them as like, yo, these Flagnar's out of here, right? Like, if y'all ain't taking orders, it's going to be so much fun, man. Because either they're going to treat this like, no, y'all are taking orders from us and we're taking no other answers, right? Or they're just going to be trolling around like, whatever, just stay out of our way type of business. Regardless, anytime Kaku and Lucci go in for an attack, Luffy and Zoro are just going to be clowning them. You know, whether they're going to be clowning them directly and being like, is that all your attack could do? Watch this. Just go ahead. And then they do like a tag team attack they didn't mean to do. So like, for example, Lucci goes in for Hakugan, hurts him, and Luffy just looks at me, laughs. He's like, yo, is that it, dog? Goes in and delivers like an elephant gun or something and sends him flying to the wall. I think there's just so many opportunities for comedic value. And I think this is one of those scenarios where, remember what Oda was talking about in regards to, he wants to have as much fun as possible in the final saga. And I think he easily could have treated this situation here with Luffy and Zoro against Mihawk and Kuma, their Seraphim versions, as a way to showcase Luffy and Zoro's strength post Wano. He absolutely could have done that. But instead of doing that, he's now going to allow an opportunity to not only showcase Luffy and Zoro's strength post Wano, by also showcasing their strength in comparison to Lucci and Kaku's, but he's also going to take this as an opportunity to have a lot of fun and pay off so much comedic relief in this upcoming battle, which is going to be an enjoyable read and just a blast, dude. A potential Luffy and Lucci tag team, even if it's unintentional, or Zoro and Kaku, or all four of them delivering an attack to a certain character. I think that's just going to be so much fun, man. And just the possibilities of that are endless, especially against someone like the S-Hawk and the S-Bear. Because they just have so many different abilities that can be either countered and or force something out of these characters, that them fighting each other is going to cause for more conflict than the actual conflict in front of them. And I think that always causes for a good dynamic, but especially when it's these four, right? Like, it's just going to be so good. And then, of course, there's the Lucci internal conflict that's been present throughout the entire course of Egghead so far. From the very beginning, he was shown, you know, about, you know, the Lucia incident, and then continuing onward from that, taking measures into his own hands. And now that Lucci sees that the S units are directly coming after him, now it's different. Now it's like, wait, if these individuals are coming for me, then I'm even going to have to team up with a pirate. And it's like, what does that mean for Lucci post Egghead? Because whether it's St. J. Garcia Saturn that we see within the surveillance camera or not, he's going to have to deal with the repercussions at some point, right? Whether it be Akainu or Kizaru or Garcia Saturn or whoever it is going to have to, he's going to have to come face to face with them, unless he leaves the Marines, unless he leaves CP0, right? Like, or maybe they're going to come to a situation where they can't afford to lose someone like Lucci. But even then, there's been too much stuff that's taken place here outside of orders. And it feels like this may be it for Lucci as a member of CP0 and by association, potentially Kaku as well. So it's like, what happens now? with those two characters. And I feel like we're going to be seeing the first bits of that in this battle against the S units, because now they're going to have the opportunity to go directly against the S units. And we're going to see how Lucci feels about certain things, right? Because to me, it's like, how is he going to react to that? How are his superiors going to react to what he's doing here? Especially if they learn that against the S units, he fought together with Luffy and Zoro, right? Against an emperor and his right-hand man. Oh, dude, that's just so raw. That's just so raw. But no, Lucci stocks are good right now. The Lucci stocks are good. Shout out to Jay. But nah, absolutely, dude. This was an awesome ending, and it leads into something else that I want to talk about here as well in regards to this Afterthoughts. And actually, before I get into that, let me talk about this surveillance thing. So we talked about this in the stream, potential individuals it could be. I am still putting my stock in the fact that this is probably Garcia Saturn. And I think what we have to look at is the panel with York. If the panel with York tells us anything about what is going on, unless the Stella body has more control over the S units than even the other individuals. So let's just say whether it be Shaka or York or Atlas or Edison or Pythagoras or whoever, regardless, or Lilith, whoever, that if any of them attempt to override the systems or override a command done by the Stella unit, will it work? They're all Vegapunks, but is the Stella unit superior to the others? If it's not, this has to be St. J. Garcia Saturn. Because York let out, and let me actually pull up the panel right here. And this was a comment that was brought to my attention. Let me go ahead and pull it up, because I always like to give credit where credit is due. So right here, Farmer Frank, very first sentence, thing is York tried to order Boa and it didn't work. And that is a factual statement, right? So let's go ahead and look at who actually sent out orders here to the S-Snake. Edison. York is not necessarily laying out a command, but it's like, yo, you really should be waiting out there. So it's like a passive-aggressive command, still a command. Lilith, though, directly commands. You shouldn't be able to move on your own. I command you to stop. Does not listen. Massive laser gets sent out. And so to me, it's like either, yes, maybe the Stella unit is the traitor. And that is something we were talking about yesterday. And if that's true, then what we're seeing here is the Stella unit that has a higher command than even the other Vegapunks, right? If that is not the case, when we saw the hierarchy, the individuals above them are the Gorosei, which tells me St. J. Garcia Saturn is already laying out these orders. And if that is true, then that means Garcia Saturn's already here. And that would imply that maybe the person that we saw on the surveillance camera was in fact St. J. Garcia Saturn. If that is true, Egghead Island is about to be absolutely insane, even more than it already is. It already is. Peaks of the peak, absolute insanity every single chapter. But if a member of the Gorosei is already laying out direct orders, that's just going to be too much. It's going to be way too much, man. So obviously, the camera could be anything. Just laying out the possibilities. It could be Garcia Saturn, Caribou, like we talked about yesterday, which is a very good theory. Caribou, it could be another one of the S's, an S Moria, an S Crocodile, an S Flamingo. Could be a lot of these, right? We don't know who else is on this island in regards to the S units. We have no idea. It could very well be the S Snake that we saw within this chapter with Hancock. Just keeping it as simple as that. But the fact remains is that whoever it is, they took direct commands from someone. Could it be Caribou having taken one of the remotes, like Subra said yesterday, and turning the S units against their superiors? Or does it go deeper than that? Is it the Stella unit? Is it Garcia Saturn? However, whichever way it goes, Oda's placing so much emphasis on this traitor thing that I cannot wait to see what it's going to be. Because at this point, I love how he continues to build this intrigue. This is obviously classic Oda in this slow build up to something huge. But as stuff continues to pop off and pop off and pop off, this one thing has been lingering in the background this entire arc. And so it's like, whatever this traitor ends up being, it's going to have consequential stuff that's going to allow the rest of the arc to go in the way that it's going to go. the last thing I was expecting in this week's chapter was for the S units to already turn like this. I was expecting the S unit turn to either take place when Garcia Saturn got here or at the end of the series for the final war. Oda's like, no, they're here. Let's start these conflicts. And so, obviously, we already talked about one of them with the Luffy, Lucci, Zoro, and Kaku scenario. But the other one fascinates me a lot as well. And I want that to be my final topic here for the Afterthoughts. So looking at this JRPG party that's been established here, Pythagoras is known as the Wise. Lilith is obviously the evil, quote-unquote evil side of Vegapunk as well. Rocking the bubble gun, the bubble gun, which you already know is going to come into effect in some way, shape, or form. Looking forward to seeing when that comes into effect, because that looks crazy. That massive ring in front of it and everything. So that's going to be fun. Usopp and Frankie being here. Usopp and Frankie, the moment that we all saw a Vegapunk arc was going to happen, those were the first two characters we thought of, because these are two characters that continue to innovate and create their own abilities based on stuff that they've made themselves, right? Their own creations. And Frankie in particular, we talked about this yesterday in regards to, I am very interested in seeing how Oda's going to play around with Vegapunk dealing with the consequences of his own creation in a similar type of way that Frankie was told by Tom that you should never be ashamed of the things that you create. And I wonder if there's going to be a confrontation there or a conversation there where Frankie, maybe Lilith or Pythagoras says something in regards to the Seraphim, and Frankie's like, no, you should never be ashamed of your creations. You know, have like a really nice little parallel and callback, another nice parallel to the Water 7 saga. And so I do wonder if Frankie's going to have that moment. But above that, now that we have Pythagoras and Lilith here with Usopp and Frankie, I think this would be a great opportunity for them to exercise not only that thematically, but to create something brand new to handle the S unit. Because at this point in time, Oda's created a scenario where either they need to survive this, get away from this, or overcome the S-Snake. And I think it's going to be more of a survival thing, where we're going to see the brains of Pythagoras the Wise, the experience of Frankie, the cowardice and bravery of Usopp, alongside with the evil mechanisms of Lilith's mind all working together to create a scenario where they can either potentially win, escape, or survive. And I think that's going to make this fight very intriguing in the same way that the Chopper versus Dr. Hogback, Usopp versus Perona battles back in Thriller Bark were. That they were just so intense because you know how overmatched they were in that scenario. And it feels the same way here, where yes, Frankie is a formidable fighter, right? But this is an S unit that is based on one of the warlords who was wreaking havoc on Amazon Lily. Nothing to mess around with, right? So now we're going to be placed in a scenario where these four are going to have to work together in order to do one of those three things in this situation with the S-Snake. And I think, to me, that's going to be so immersive and could potentially create some incredible character moments for all of these characters. It could be a moment for Frankie to get through to Vegapunk this entire time, learning under his island for 2 years, where Vegapunk comes to a conclusion that he has to eliminate one of his creations, and Frankie's like, nah, hold on, brother. And then we cut back to the Tom conversation, and we see how Frankie has learned throughout the course of his journey with the Straw Hats what Tom was really talking about. And maybe we even potentially see one of Frankie's brand new creations here as well. And thanks to Vegapunk, because since Pythagoras is here, Pythagoras could help Usopp and Frankie come up with a brand new mechanism to be able to deal with the situation at hand. And so all of those different scenarios and possibilities make this battle of the S-Snake versus Lilith, Usopp, Frankie, and Pythagoras to be, it could be an all-timer, man. It has the potential to be, at the very least, an extremely enjoyable fight where there's a lot of different things at play. And it could lead us a lot into Vegapunk's character, just as much as it could lead us a lot into Usopp and Frankie's character. Obviously, we all expect Elbaf to be Usopp's major arc. But heading into that, knowing that this arc is the precursor to Elbaf, let's go ahead and get that kick-started, man. Let's see how Usopp is going to confront a scenario like this that appears to be unwinnable. How does he confront this? How does he create a situation where they can all survive? We could see a scenario where the Vegapunks rely on Usopp because he has the mentality that is different from theirs. where they learn a lot from, or Vegapunk and Lilith and Pythagoras learn from Usopp in a way that he utilizes whatever means necessary to survive. And you see that aspect, and they might grow to be in awe of him, right? So it's going to be all these different things at play here. And so this fight has a lot of potential to be the show stealer of this arc. And I look forward to seeing how our strats shine, but also what more we get to learn from Vegapunk thanks to that. So that has been this week's Afterthoughts. This was a great chapter, great setup for what is to come, and this trader business is getting wild, man. I hope it's Garcia Saturn that is pulling up, but if it really is like the Stella body or one of the other Vegapunks, it just leads me to believe, like, then does one of them have like a higher command than the others? Is that why? We can't command them to stop. It's just so interesting. And I love when Oda does this with these crazy, like, the slow build-up and just keeping you immersed in the mystery, but this one has just been wild. It has been wild, man. And so, thank you all so much for watching. I hope all of you have an awesome sauce of a day. Can't wait for the next one. There's no break next week, right? So if there's no break next week, we'll be back with the next chapter next week. And I'm so excited for that, man. Who knows what'll be in that? You know, you never know with an Egghead chapter what's going to be in the following chapter. So I will see y'all next time. Y'all have an awesome day. Let's go, dude. Egghead, man. It's so good.